Hi. Dog. He's like, Ayaz has different angle right now. Well, you're not going to force me to make the video at this angle. That's not going to work, but I will pay. Chocolate baby. It's really cold outside today, and he's already made me let him out like 3 times. 10-day short walk around the block just to let him stretch his legs. So I think you're good for now. Okay. Next up on my Tamers family list, for the Tamers, for the the family of the different Tamers and everything. This one is going to be about the Katou family, so Jerry's family. And then the next one will just be about miscellaneous, the other miscellaneous family. So that's Kazu and Kenta's family, and then Ryu's dad, who we see a grand total of like twice in the series. But yeah. So this one is the Katou family. Yes, I know you're cute. If you flip the other way, they can see you better. He's like, nope, I'm comfy. Okay. Can I do the video from over here and you can see the dog better? I could, but then I'm really not in the light very well, so. Oh well. Normal setup then. If the dog wants to be a little bit better presentation in the video, he can always move. Won't you? You will move if you need to. Rainy, I may move for a random reason. Okay. Enough with the dog. Okay, so the Katou family, beyond Katou and Rika and Henry's family, is actually the one that we tend to learn the most about throughout the course of the series. And I think also in like a little bit of the supplemental material. So the head of the Katou family is Tadashi Katou. He is Jerry's father, and he is the owner of a tavern / restaurant / straight up bar that is in Shibuya. And he is 46 years old at the time that the series takes place. We don't see... out of the main three's family, he's actually the one that we end up seeing the most of. I told you he would move, didn't I? He'd move, get into a better angle. There, they can see you more now. Okay, yep. So kind of the first, glimpse that we get of him is in the episode kind of right before the Tamers are going to be heading off to the digital world. We see Jerry has come downstairs into the kitchen, into the kitchen area of the restaurant. We see her father and her stepmother there. I'll go over her stepmother and her actual mother and her stepmother and her birth mother and her little brother in a moment. But we see her father, and she's just getting juice and going back upstairs and everything. And we really don't see anything else about him. We see, just don't spill your juice or whatever it is. We find out in the later on, either in that episode or the next episode, before the Tamers are about to leave, she says to Kazu and Kenta that she actually had Leomon talk to her dad and explain the whole situation. I'm like, okay, I guess that's one way to get your parents to understand what's going on, is to have your Digimon talk to them, straight up, talk to them. Hi. And we don't see too much of him from there, and then we see him again in shortly before the when the Tamers are supposed to be coming back from the digital world. I'll let the dog get situated, and you guys can watch because he's a cute puppy, and I'm sure he's one of the main reasons you come to the channel. I am mascot. I will not even look at the camera. He blends in well with the pillows, doesn't he? There. Never mind. We don't really see too much else of him. We kind of get hints of like Jerry talking about her family at various points in time. We talk about her, we see her talk about her dad a little bit, and we see her little brother at this point in time as well. I'm just going to list off the rest of her family. We have her birth mother, who we never get a name for. We just see her in a picture that is sitting, I'm assuming, on Jerry's desk. That is her with Jerry as a little baby. At one point in time, we know via this nightmare memory that Jerry has, that her mother died when she was very young, and that since then her father has been basically, or for a while, was raising her on her own, or on his own. He was a single parent and everything. And we see that in the flashbacks that we get with him a little bit later on in the series during his conflict with the D Reaper. We see him remembering, taking care of Jerry, doing the laundry, trying to make sure that he's trying to do everything right. Because, he's a single parent raising, a daughter and everything. And raising any child as a single parent is hard. Depending on what the circumstances of being a single parent is. My parents were divorced, but it's not like they just didn't help the other one with taking care of me. That wasn't what happened or anything like that. We know that Jerry's mother died, and then we know several years later that his wife, Tadashi, remarried, and that was to Shizue Katou. She's Jerry's stepmother, and she is the mother of Masahiko, who is Jerry's little brother. Her stepmother is 33 years old, and then Masahiko is 3 years old. So I'm assuming Jerry's father probably remarried about 4-ish, maybe 5 years ago or so, from the point that we see in the series. And Shizue tries to be a very good mother to Jerry as much as she can, and I'll go over that. And then Masahiko, we just kind of see him. He likes to steal Jerry's puppet, little dog puppet that she has, and apparently he likes to sleep with it and such. We don't really get a whole lot of character development on him, obviously, because he's not the focus. But what we see with Jerry's father is that as we go through the story, when it's time for all the Tamers to return to the human world, all the Tamers' parents are being contacted and everything. And I'm assuming at some point in time they went and explained to the Katou family what was going on, where the Tamers had gone to and everything, that the kids were in the digital world and everything. And we have this moment when they're being when all the Tamers' parents are being told that they're coming home. We cut back to nobody is there to pick up Jerry when they return from the digital world. Admittedly, it's clone D Reaper Jerry, but they don't know that at the time. They just think Jerry is just kind of in a very depressed state at this point in time. And what we see is, no one's there to pick her up, as, all the rest of the Tamers, all of their families are there. Neither of her parents are there. And, I think it's Riley or whatever that contacted each of the parents or whatever. And we see Tadashi on the phone, saying, she went to the digital world on her own. She can come back on her own, blah, blah, blah. And, he's not very happy and everything. But we see her stepmother, Shizue, offer to go and pick her up. It's just I'll just go and get her. It's fine. And he's like, no, she has to learn from her mistakes, is what he's saying. We know that Katou is the one, of course, that, takes Jerry back to where her parents are staying at this point in time. Takes the fake Jerry back there. We see a little bit of that reunion. Her father is very kind of forceful and getting her into the car. He doesn't actually hurt her or anything like that. And her stepmother is there, of course. And when they get back to the house where they're staying, her stepmother is there, and her little brother is kind of falling asleep on his feet. He looks very tired. And then we cut to probably within a day or two or something like that. We see Masahiko running around being, played, Calamon and him are playing together and everything. And he falls down, and then, Shizue comes out, and she, he starts crying and everything, and she, straightens him up and everything, because when a little kid falls down to a degree, they probably feel, oh, I hit my knees, or I hit my hands or my elbows or whatever. And I'm, kids cry when they fall down. I know I did. And, she calms him down. And then the fake Jerry comes out, and she just kind of like pins Masahiko to the ground and is creepily like, all better now, all better now. I'm like, please stop. And she's just being creepy. And then we cut to when we see that the fake Jerry is somehow inside of the D Reaper, you know, in the area where Katou is and everything. You know, Jerry's stepmother is trying to figure out where she is, and Masahiko says, oh, she went down the hall or whatever. And, you know, she's just straight up gone. At this point in time, you know, during this time frame is when, of course, the Tamers find out that, oh, Jerry is actually inside of the D Reaper, that this one that they brought back with them was actually like a D Reaper clone and everything. And we have this moment where, you know, Jerry's, you know, dad and stepmother and everything come to the, you know, temporary headquarters for Hypno / the Monster Makers when they get there. And what we end up seeing is, you know, Jerry's dad just kind of storms off, and he kind of has this extremely one-sided conversation with Katou.
Please don't be mad at her. Please, it's not her fault. I really mean it. It's not her fault. You have to believe me. You just have to. Mr. Katou, please, just don't be mad at her.
And, you know, can't blame Katou. I mean, like, it's not Jerry's fault what's going on. It's she was in a very emotional and vulnerable state, and that's what the D Reaper took advantage of. And we then find out that basically Tadashi basically stole Takato's dad's van. You know, he owns a bakery, and he has a van that he has to use to deliver stuff, which tracks perfectly. You know, he stole the van. He drives that to where the D Reaper is, or where part of the D Reaper is, and he just straight up, like, you know, gets out of the van and he starts yelling at the D Reaper to, like, you know, let my daughter go and everything, or just give Jerry back to me and everything. And we see that. And during that time, for like the, you know, Katou and Rika and I think Kazu and Kenta are the ones that run out there, because like Henry is currently, because this is also right during this time frame when this battle ends up happening, is when Grani shows up, so Henry's not there at the moment. You know, the D Reaper, who at some point in time had like managed to, you know, capture a camera from, you know, the military, has like taken one of its tentacles, and out has come the camera, and it's like pointed directly at, you know, Jerry's dad. And, you know, he'd been yelling at the D Reaper and everything, and up within the D Reaper in its brain, we see Calamon and Jerry, and Calamon's like, Jerry, listen, someone's calling for you. It's your dad. She goes, my daddy? And that's kind of like one of the little things that kind of starts to like help Jerry like jump her out of her, you know, her very, you know, sorrowful state that she's in. Which, as I stated before in the Jerry video, I do not blame Jerry at all for the fact that she is heartbroken over Leomon. Don't blame her in the slightest. I was heartbroken when, you know, my last pet died, when my last dog died. It's hard when anybody dies, regardless of, you know, whether they're an animal or whether they're a friend or a family member or whatever. It hurts. I love you. And, you know, for a Digimon, for a Digidestin, for a Tamer, it is, you know, this is your partner and everything. So I don't blame Jerry at all for being in a depressed state. Don't blame her at all. And, you know, him yelling, her father yelling, kind of helps her snap out of it. And we kind of saw earlier that she was having a nightmare, probably influenced a little bit by the D Reaper or whatever. And the D Reaper is like scanning Jerry's memories to be able to see who this random man is that's yelling at them. And they scan the memories, and they see that it was her father. Within the nightmare, we see it's Jerry's memory / nightmare of when her mother died, and, you know, her running through the hospital and just having a horrible nightmare and everything about that, about losing her mother. But we see it, and the D Reaper starts like listing off, like, you know, facts about Tadashi Katou, and he's just like, name Tadashi Katou, species, human, relationship with, subject Jerry Katou, father. And as I stated before, the D Reaper is using Jerry's voice, and that just makes it even worse. Now, I'm assuming that they did the same thing in the Japanese and the English dub, just like ran with it too, because that is just one way to just like screw up someone's head. It's just like, oh yeah, no, the person that we captured from you, we are going to use their voice in order to mess with you, because we saw how much that messed with Katou, we saw how much that messed with Beelzemon, we saw how much this is messing with her dad and everything, and that just straight up just makes it even worse with the way that the D Reaper, speaks with Jerry's voice. And, Tadashi is, and like Tadashi is, confused, and the rest of them are confused as to why it doesn't understand the word father. And Renamon explains, well, just like Digimon, the D Reaper doesn't understand what a parent is. And like the D Reaper kind of has to like reboot in order to try to like figure out what Tadashi is and everything. It's like it knows that its name is Tadashi, that his name is Tadashi Katou, and some of these other facts about him and everything, but it can't grasp the concept of a parent. And I think Rika yells at it too. And then then the fight breaks out, and then what happens is Jerry's dad ends up driving the bakery van, into the leg of like the D Reaper thing that has shown up. The Tamers had tried to protect him and everything when the battle started and everything, and I think both Katou and Rika bio-merge at this point in time into Gallantmon and Tsukuyamon in order to protect Jerry's dad and everything. And as I said, I believe Kazu and Kenta are there, and like, yeah, Jerry's dad just straight up drives the van into the into the D Reaper's leg. So yeah, no, he gets points for that. You get points for that, dude. And so we have that, and we get him out of there and everything. They do end up getting him back to the Hypnos base, where temporary base and everything. I don't think we ever end up seeing him again in the series, but it is obviously implied that, Jerry, after everything happens, after she's rescued from the D Reaper and everything by Katou and everything, after the D Reaper's gone and everything, and all the Digimon go back to the digital world, it's basically implied that she goes back to her dad and her stepmom and her little brother. And in regards to her stepmom, when Tadashi just goes off and ends up dealing with going to yell at the D Reaper, which, okay, no, you get points for that, as I said. We see Suzuhei and Rika's mother, Nanaka, not Nanaka. That's their last name. Rika's mother, oh, frick, I knew this for the last video. Rumiko. We see her go over and talk to Suzuhei, and she's like, well, Suzuhei is like, well, I'm just so worried that I'm not doing this right, that I'm not being a good enough mother for Jerry. It's just like I'm her stepmom and everything. And Rumiko is just like, it's hard being a mom. It's hard being a stepmom. It's hard being a mom, period. It's hard being a parent, period, in all honesty. And I can see where Suzuhei is coming from this to a degree, because, as I've stated before, my dad was married before he met my mom. Technically, both my parents were married previously before they married each other, but my mom didn't have any kids with her first husband. My dad had my sister with his first wife. And then, when my mom came into the picture, they'd already been divorced for a couple of years at that point in time. But, my mom was the stepmom in that arrangement. And as I've stated before on this channel, one of the things I don't like that they do when it comes to fairy tales is they will turn, the stepmother is the evil stepmother or something like that. And I'm just like, that is not the case. Just because someone is a stepmother, that does not make them a bad person. You throw Cinderella and Snow White in there and everything. It's a bad stepmother. They are not a bad parent. Like there are parents in fairy tales that are just horrible straight up in general, regardless of whether or not they're the step parent or not. But this is not about fairy tales. But I like that moment that they showed that the two moms kind of bonding and everything. And my mom was my sister's stepmom for several years and everything before my sister asked my mom to adopt her. And she did. Um, and, so we see that. We see, it's basically implied that, Jerry goes back to her parents, goes back to her dad and her stepmom and everything and her little brother. And hopefully her and her stepmom kind of end up having a better relationship, because I do think part of what we see, I think, in the D Reaper, when like Jerry is yelling at the D Reaper when she's trapped inside of it and everything, like, you don't understand what it's like to be human. Of course, you don't understand these different things and everything, she's yelling at the D Reaper, which, yeah, the D Reaper gets yelled at a lot in this, and the D Reaper does not care, because the D Reaper has no form of emotion beyond pain and whatever. But, Jerry is, when Jerry's yelling at the D Reaper and such like that, I do believe that we see her worrying about her dad and everything. She apologized. She was like, I was just like, I was so mean to my stepmom and everything. And, she was just trying her best and everything. And I think, Jerry and her stepmom, Shizuhe, and, Tadashi and, Matsuhiko, I think them as a family is probably going to be a bit of a tighter bond than they were previously. And such, and hopefully they may need to go to some family therapy to a degree, which is probably a good decision. Your daughter got replaced with a clone and you didn't notice. Yeah, and then she was kidnapped. So there's issues going on here that probably need to be addressed. But yeah, so we see that. I don't think there was really anything else that we see, because we don't see Jerry's parents at all in the first movie or at all in the second movie, so there's nothing there. Yeah, there's not really anything else that we see. It is kind of implied that Calamon becomes like Jerry's secondary partner, to a degree. So Calamon probably goes to live with Jerry to a degree, just to give Jerry, still have that connection and everything. Not that the rest of the group, push her away or anything like that. Or just, oh, you don't have Digimon anymore. Go away. No, they don't act that way or anything like that. So, I would assume that Calamon lives in the house with Jerry and her family and everything. / is like roams around and goes wherever the heck he wants. But yeah, we don't really see anything else of Jerry and her parents. But I do like that they show that, because Tadashi is clearly the type of parent or the type of man or person in general that isn't used to wearing their emotions on their sleeve. And, he's seems to be a bit more strict and everything when it comes to Jerry. And, he went from being, married to being a single parent to, then having, later on his second wife and then another son and everything. And, and he also runs a business, the tavern and everything, where I like the fact, I just wanted to throw this in there just because I still find it funny that, when Jerry is kidnapped in the digital world, not by the D Reaper, but by Orochimon, that she ends up having to, serve him milkshakes, as it is in the English dub, as opposed to sake, which is of course what it is in the actual Japanese dub, or the actual Japanese. And she's like, oh, my parents own a restaurant, so I'm used to dealing with, I'm used to serving customer shakes and everything like that. So I'm just like, oh, Jerry. But yeah, there's not a whole lot that else to talk about with the Katou family. Yeah, I just hope that they're having a better time now being around each other and hopefully being able to, make their relationship stronger. So that's what we have. I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Yep, that's it. Bye.